So, the funniest thing just happened. I was just on a phone call. It was hilarious. So, there was this guy on Match.com. He was like, "You're so beautiful," all of this. And then he told me everything that was wrong with me. He's like, "You're so beautiful. I'm surprised you don't have a man," and all this. And he's like, "If you change your profile picture, because all your other pictures are beautiful, but because I have a mask in some of my photos," and he's like, "Oh, you should change your profile picture. You should be more open-minded," and all this stuff. And it's like, okay. And then he tells me my brains are scrambled and I've been taken in by the dating apps. And it's like, I just happened to see that you messaged me and I responded to be nice because you kept saying, "Oh, I'm too busy," and all this stuff. So I'm like, "You're too busy." And then I decided to call him and respond. And then it was basically a half an hour of him berating me. And it's like, how are you going to berate me? And it's like, people want to date me. I don't want to date them, but nobody wants to date you. But you're coming for me to tell me how to get a date when I can get a date, but you can't get a date. And this guy was on Match.com, and then he was asking me about like past relationships and different questions. So I was telling him, answering the questions that he asked me, and then he's like, "I don't want to be one of your memes. I don't want to be one of the guys in your scrapbook that you talk about." And I'm like, "You're already one of them. And I haven't even gone out with you." Yeah, because I was just saying like some dating stories and different things. Because like people are weird on the dating apps. I don't know. It's like people on Match, they'll match with you and they'll send you a message, then you respond and they don't respond. Then like OkCupid, because I just flip, if I go to OkCupid, I just like everybody to see what happens. But then I respond and I say hi when it's a match, or sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But then like the guys never respond. Or then you just get like random invites for threesomes and stuff. And I'm just like, what? It's like, why, if you liked me, why would you disrespect me and ask me to do something like that? And it was like, yeah. And then he's like, "Oh, you've been brainwashed by the dating apps. You use the dating apps too much." And it's like, you're a serial dater. It's like, no, I quit dating because it's like, I don't like when you go on a date and then like you don't even go on the date. Before you go on the date, the guy's trying to negotiate with you to see what you will do with him. And it's like, okay, will you kiss me? Will you hold my hand? Will you do this? And all this crazy stuff. And it's like, no, I don't know you. We'll see how it goes. And then they're like, "I'm not going to go with you unless you agree to this." And it's like, what do you sound like? You don't sound good. Yeah. And then I was watching, I'm not going to name names, but I was watching some other YouTube channels. And then they're talking about like the passport bros and like women messed up and everything. And these men are leaving. And it's like, okay, I don't know. I haven't really seen that because everybody I know has had a passport since they were like a baby and they've always left the country. But then they're not going there and marrying women and stuff. They're just going on vacations and stuff. But I also saw something that's really funny because it was like, I would always say I want to get married. But then I realized more recently, I realized I'm not marriage material. And then it's like, you think, why would you say you're not marriage material? Because it's like, I can be 1950s wife marriage material, 1960s wife marriage material, but I can't be like this 2020 something marriage material because I'm just not emotionally stable enough to financially support a man. If that man is not, if there's not something wrong with that man, for me to financially support a man where he's not doing anything, I need this man to be like severely disabled. And for me to, and when I mean severely, I mean like not just like in a wheelchair and stuff. I mean like you need to be like severely, because even if you're in a wheelchair or whatever, you can still get a job. So it's like, I've tried to work with guys. I remember when I was younger, I'd meet a guy, he had less money than me. I liked him. I would try and help him up himself and do better and help him write a resume, get a job, go to school, offer him a job, and they would be like, no, I don't want to. And it's like, okay, what do you want to do? And try and work with you. If I can upgrade you and help you get to a better life where you can make at least 100,000 a year or more, why wouldn't you take me up on that offer? Instead, you choose to be broke and live with your parents or have a bunch of roommates. And I don't really want to have that life. And it's like, I don't want to be in a relationship with somebody where it's like you can't afford something. And then, because it's like different. Because I see it this way. At some point, if we get in a relationship and it's a serious relationship and we get that serious, there's probably going to end up being a baby at some point in a wedding and all that stuff. I don't really want a wedding, but a marriage and stuff. And then I'm going to have to go on disability at some point. And if I'm the breadwinner, we're going to be homeless unless I work overtime before and during the pregnancy to make sure I saved up enough money to financially support you and a baby. And I don't see that, because it's like, if I'm already doing that before there's a child and I'm doing this, and then I have to give birth, and I know I'm going to want to take time off, and that means I won't have time to do this. And then I was watching CBS Morning News, and they were talking about 7 million men are out of work and they're unemployed. And they're like, all these jobs out here, but men don't want them. And it's like, I don't really care what you do for work, as long as you're not a prostitute, you're not selling drugs, doing something immoral, hurting people, and you're just doing something honest days, labor, work, whatever. And I'll even bypass a college education. Like, if you're a contractor or something, well, you have to have some kind of a college education to be a contractor. But a contractor, something like that, like a trade, because it's like you're going to make a decent income where you can support yourself. And then if we bought a house, we could get a much better house if you could fix it. And it's like, I'm willing to work with people. I don't want to get stuck with a man that refuses to work, and then I'm stuck and I'm left with everything, and then stuff doesn't turn out right, and then you won't step up, because I do not want to be with a man that's not willing to step up. And it's like, I'm not even saying I need a man to lead, but I'm going to say, if I just gave birth to a baby and I'm like in pain and I can't work and do stuff, I'm expecting you to take care of the baby, get everything together, and while I just rest and do my thing. But if I have to lead and do everything, then I can't depend on you. And it's like, what's the point of being with you if you're stressing me out? And this is just like this guy who I was just talking to. And it was like, I gave him a chance. He was different from anybody else I would date. Most guys I date are like over 6 foot. And this guy was like 5'9". And he was just like, because like that thing where they call it negging and stuff that I've heard about, where it's like the guy's like insulting you and stuff. And he's like calling it flirting. And it's like, I'm like, what the fuck is this guy? He's talking about how he's looking for a relationship and all this stuff, and it's like, he's not being very nice to me. And it's like, I'm trying to be nice and trying to figure this whole situation out, because it just sounds so stupid to me. And then I'm like, yeah, people ask me out, they're like living with their parents and all this other stuff, and it's like, I'd rather be alone than settle, because if I'm trying to build you up but you don't want to be built up, and it's like, I will accept you if you have debt, and it's like, some debt, as long as I find it to be reasonable, like medical debt or something. But even medical debt, like if you have college debt and stuff, it's like, okay, I can support you on that, and it's like not a big deal. Everybody has college debt. But if you just have debt because you were out buying video games and Xboxes and stuff, then I have an issue with that. But I was willing, and still am willing, to work with someone and build a relationship and help them build up and be a power couple. But it's like, guys do not want to work. It's like, I'll find like a guy at like a tech company, and like he's all together and everything, but it's like, we might not click. And it's like, you might be cool, and it's like, everybody's pushing people towards the guys at the tech companies. But this guy, he works at a tech company, I think, and I didn't really like him. And it's like, basically the only guys that are willing to well, I wouldn't really say work hard because you don't hear about people at tech companies working hard, but they do make enough money to support themselves and be independent. And they're educated to some extent. Generally, you have to have a bachelor's degree or master's degree, unless you have a certificate and you studied something. So it's really hard out here because it's like, all I want is a basic man that can support himself. And in California, in the Bay Area, it's expensive. It's like, for rent, most places are renting like a 1-bedroom for like $3,000 for most 1-bedrooms. And that's not even in a nice area. That could be in a crappy, dangerous area. And it's like, if we're going to get together, and it's like, if I leave my place, which is in a nice area, and basically my rent only goes up a little bit because I've been there so long, and I don't move into another place, and it's like, I take that risk on you, get married, do all this, and then you like flop and bomb and everything. And then it's like, I gave up all this to be with you wherever, and then I have to sacrifice. And it's like, I don't want to get married and then have a baby and all this stuff, and then I have to go to work like a few weeks, like a week or two later, because you can't support the family. And it's like, a week or two later, I'm not going to be healed. I'm not going to be good. I'm not going to be in a good mood. But you get to stay home and be with the baby, and your body didn't go through anything. But I would have to rush back to work because I would have to be the breadwinner. It's like, I don't mind being a breadwinner. Sometimes everybody has like their ebbs and flows or whatever. But I do not see my life, spending my life supporting a man financially. And then they're like, I hear this stuff where it's like, let the man lead. And it's like, I will let you lead. You refuse to lead. So then I have to lead, and I don't want to lead. I want you to lead. And it's just like this crazy thing. Why won't men lead? It's like, become financially stable and everything. And it's like, I'm not even saying I refuse to work. I don't want to do this. And it's like, it's California. It's expensive. It's the Bay Area. If you're going to get married and have kids, it's like, you can like barely survive on $100,000. They say if you're like a family of 4 and you make under $140,000, you're in poverty. You can go to public housing and all that stuff and government benefits. And it's like, if I can make 100,000 on my own, or 100,000 plus, depending on if I show up, and you can't even match me, and it's like, you don't have to make more than me, but at least be my equal. And then somehow it's made out to be, and it's like, oh, you're a gold digger or whatever. And it's like, no, I'm not a gold digger. I have my own money. And it's like, in California, $100,000 isn't that much. You can have $100,000 and be single and live in paycheck to paycheck. You could be a couple in California and have $100,000 total combined and be impoverished. And it all depends on where you live too. Because I know there are some areas that are cheaper in different areas, like Central Valley cheaper. But in the Bay Area, they tell you all the time. And then, like, I did one of the videos on my channel just to go to work and park in San Francisco. I think the video said it was $35 a day. Can you imagine driving to work in San Francisco and it's $35 a day? Because I know some places, I think from like San Francisco to Fremont, I think it's like $20 a day. From the farthest place in the North Bay, it's like $26 a day if you pay cash. And I think that's like 10. I think from the other side of the North Bay, it's like 20, because if you're coming from like Vallejo or Fairfield, I think it's like a round trip, $10 for the bus. And then I think, oh, wait, I forgot. Because I was thinking one way. So I think, I'm not sure how much it costs, but I think it's around like $10 or almost $10. So that can be $15 each way, like $30. Because I didn't even think about that. Because if you take, oh wait, no, if you take the boat, it can be that much. If you take the, actually, if you take the boat, you don't need that. So that would be $20 if you take the boat from Vallejo. But if you did the bus and the BART, wait, no, the bus and the BART, so that'll be like $20 too or more. Rough estimates, but that's expensive. And imagine if you drive in to the city and you take your car, you're paying bridge toll. And I think like the bridge toll is like $8, plus the parking is like $35, plus the gas. Yeah, so it's like, that is so expensive. Yeah, because I'm not sure how, I think the Bay Bridge is like $8, and I think the Richmond Bridge and the Golden Gate are like $8 or something now. And just imagine that no matter which way you come through San Francisco, you're crossing a bridge, unless you come through the peninsula, which is cheaper, coming from San Mateo. But then they have toll roads too. And then the buses are expensive, because imagine taking the bus and you're spending almost $30 on the bus, and you're only going there and back. And it's not even a distance bus, it's a local bus. And it's just crazy how people are like, oh, $100,000 is so much money. It was like, if you had $100,000 on top of your salary, like, yeah, that's a lot of money. But if your salary is only $100,000 and you have to manage your way, or if you have to, cause like, say if you work in San Francisco and you have to commute and you're going somewhere, like if you're commuting from Fremont or something, you're spending $20 a day, and that's on BART. But if you're driving and you're paying for parking, because that one parking video I did, it was like $35 a day. Yeah. And then, like, if you want to pay for the whole month, because I used to see signs out for the whole month where they were like a couple of $100s. Probably now it's probably a couple of thousand or something. And it's crazy. And then you get stuck in traffic and all this other stuff, and all the other stuff with the car maintenance. And then the car is getting carjacked and robbed. So it's like all this stuff. And then it's like, you're like, I want to give love a chance, but it's like, can I give love a chance? Because when you think about it, love and marriage, it's a financial contract. And do I want to take that financial risk on you? Because this is California. I take that financial risk on you and you fail, I have to give you half my shit. And you refuse to work or do anything. If I give you a chance, because it's like, because I was watching a Be Love's Life video, and they're like I think it's 6 months, they said, where if you're not, you realize this isn't working out for you and get an annulment. But think about it. If you try and give it more than 6 months and that was true, and you give this marriage like a year or two, and you're trying to make it work, trying to get him to get a job, to do something, because you're like, oh, he's great, he's all this, and it's like, I'm trying to make it work, I'm trying, and then he's doing all this, and then he's fucking up, and you basically have to pick up the pieces and pay all the bills and work like crazy. Yeah, and then you realize, because you were the breadwinner, you basically took care of him, now you're screwed, and you're going to have to pay alimony, and then if you end up having a kid, you're going to have to pay him child support probably too, and you're going to have to pay for daycare. And it's like, if I get married and he's not like helping share with the load and paying the bills and everything, because I'm just thinking, if I get married and I have a baby, I do not know if I could handle that. If I had a loser husband, I would just be like so distraught, because it's like, I have to go back to work. You're not helping, barely financially. And it's like, I can understand like economic downturn, something, but it's like, if I offer you a job, or if I could offer you a job at my company, I could offer you a job somewhere else, or I could know somebody to get you a job, and you're just like, no. And you see that I'm doing all this to try and stay financially above water and everything, because it's like, I make plenty of money, but I did not plan to have a baby that I would have to support on my own, plus a husband that's spending money that won't do shit, basically. Because that annoys me when I hear, like, oh, you have a man that works, he has a job. And it's like, yeah, you have a job, but your job doesn't pay shit. That's like saying you're example, like say Bill Gates. He got married, and he married somebody that worked at McDonald's. Oh wait, no, that's not a good example, because Bill Gates is a billionaire, so it wouldn't really matter. But like, say if, oh, I have a good example with him. That's not the same, because it's like, I'm thinking like everyday people. Let me think, like everyday people, and because like the Bay Area is expensive. So if I make $100,000, you need to make $100,000 to be equal. Because if it's like I make $100,000, you work at McDonald's and make like $20,000-$30,000, that's not gonna be shit. Because it's like everything's gonna be stuck. I'm gonna be stuck with everything. It's like your money's just basically gonna be like you're spending fun money, and then I have to figure out how to break down everything and pay for it. And then childcare, because then if I have to go childcare and you're like, oh, I want to work, and it's like, basically, if you only make $20,000-$30,000 a year, and I'm making $100,000, and I'm basically doing everything, you might as well just stay home and take care of the baby. Because if you go out to work and childcare is $3,000 a month, and it came out of income, because if we get married and we're doing joint taxes, that is our income instead of mine and yours. It becomes joint. And then it's like, okay, you make this, and basically what you would make would basically be what would go to childcare. So it's like better if you just stay home or get a better job so we could afford childcare. Because if you have one kid, you're paying for childcare, and then who knows, might want to have 2, 3, 4 kids. And that's like $3,000 a kid for daycare. And then I know people from other states, other countries are going to be like, what do you mean $3,000 a month for daycare? I used to work in a daycare. I ran a daycare. And childcare, preschool is expensive. It's expensive. All the supplies and everything. And then that's not even mentioning if you have a kid in diapers, because that's mainly the $3,000. That's for the kids that are already potty trained. Kids in diapers. And if you need to go to work from like 6 to like 7 or 6, yeah, you send a kid to daycare full time, that's like $3,000 a month. And then if you have 2 kids, that's 6,000, 4, 9, I mean, 3, 9,000, and 4, 12,000. So it's like, yeah, you got to space out the kids, because that's going to be hella expensive. And then if you're spending $12,000 a month on childcare, I actually know people that do this, because I worked at a school with very rich people. And they would have like 4 kids, and all 4 of their kids would be in daycare. Because they would have the babies in one, and the babies cost more because they're getting constant care and everything. And the other kids, they're big enough where they can go to the bathroom, so you're not dealing with that. But it is so crazy how expensive it is. And then people are like, oh, well, your man has a job. It's like, no, he might have a job, but he won't pay for the basic things like childcare and stuff. And it's like, you have a job, but you need to do better. And it's like, you don't want to do better. So then I have to step up. And it's like, I do not want to do that. And it's like, I can step up as much as I can. Like if I'm getting offered work or whatever, there was a lesson I was always taught. Somebody offers you a job, take it. You look in your schedule, you see if you can take it. If you can't take it, then you tell them you'd like to, and maybe at another time, but you always have a job. You always have a backup job and side jobs. And I have all that. And I could not imagine having to deal with that and it's like, give that man a chance, he's a good man and all that stuff. And it's like, okay, you're a nice guy, but are you a provider? And it's like, I want a husband that's a provider, a leader, a breadwinner, all that good stuff. Because I see it as if you're not all those things, then it's like basically you're just like another child. And it's like if I'm already having one with you, I don't feel like I need to have another one. And then that child is perfectly able and everything, but they won't support themselves. Because it's like if I had like a teenage kid, I'm like, okay, go get all your stuff together, get a job, learn some stuff, do some volunteer work. And then it's like, if I'm telling the kid this, and then it's like, your father is doing this, and it's like, okay, how am I going to tell him to do this and be independent and get ready for life? And your father's like refusing to even like barely support you or anything. And it's like, people are like, oh, he's not a deadbeat dad. He has a job. He contributes. No, we're married. We live in the same house. I just haven't kicked you out and given up on you yet. But it's like you're pretty much a deadbeat. Even though you have a job and you barely make any money, you're still a deadbeat. But no one wants to say it because it's not the nicest thing to say. But if you understand, it was like a whole rant where I started about Match.com and this crazy ass guy I was talking to, and then how he was trying to nag me and all this stuff, and it turned out in this long ass video. But who cares? But it's something to talk about, and it's a reflection. And if you have any comments, like, subscribe, because I really want to know what you guys think. Bye.